a former teacher, an amateur boxer, who has served as Canada's Prime Minister since 2015. Please welcome to The Late Show, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau.
Yes, it's true. The Jim and Terry Show didn't go to visit Stephen Colbert in his New York studio, but Prime Minister Justin Trudeau did sneak over from the United Nations, did sneak over from his duties in terms of leading countries who want to help change things for the better around the world. Justin Trudeau did sneak in an interview with Stephen Colbert on the Colbert Show. And did he represent Canada? Well, you have to look at the show yourself. We all have our expectations of the Stephen Colbert Show. If you're a progressive, you tend to look on Stephen Colbert as somebody who sort of extols the virtues of the left-leaning center, the people who care about other people, who want to try to fix things, who want to try to get things accomplished, who want the best for others. Well, Trudeau walked into that interview as sort of a rock star, in my opinion. The applause was significant and extended. And if I could replay that photo of Trudeau's first visit to the White House with Ivanka Trump and at the table, and she's looking starry-eyed at our Prime Minister. Well, that's sort of where things maybe still are in America. America looks at Canada as our little strange cousin to the north, but they sort of, I'm going to say mock us, poke fun at us, but all the while they're jealous of us. And so how did Justin Trudeau deal with that fanfare, that adoration, that rib poking? How are things up north? And there was no reference. I was kind of surprised. There was a reference to bacon, back bacon versus strip bacon. It's all bacon, and maple syrup appeared as well. But there was no, I was sort of surprised to this. There is none of the Great White North references in that. Maybe I was hoping for a little more history in that. But from the very beginning, Justin Trudeau represented Canada well. That's my bottom line. I would have said it was not possible for many other leaders to do as well. I have been impressed with the Green leader, Sheila May, calling out Jagmeet Singh and calling out things that are inconsistent. Well, Sheila May's been a bit inconsistent as well, but I did like her stuff in the news. If you've seen clips of Sheila May, you can look her up. She's been very outspoken in terms of criticisms of Pierre Poilievre, the Conservatives, and at this point, the NDP. We need to put partisanship aside, I think. If you want to really forge ahead, you need agreements. And it's not a coalition between the NDP, Jagmeet Singh, and Justin Trudeau and the Liberals. It's not a coalition government. It is a voluntary agreement. And you are free, Mr. Singh, to tear it up at whatever point you feel, but I trust it wouldn't be because you thought Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives were actually going to do something good for Canada. It's slogan Pierre Poilievre versus policy Justin Trudeau. And I think there is no way you can possibly compare these things on equal footing. So, Colbert interviews Justin Trudeau. The question's hard. No, it wasn't a 60 minutes. It wasn't a hard-hitting journalistic activity. It was an entertainment show. And that's what Colbert is. Sure, there's politics involved in it. A lot of poking fun and rib poking and needling. And there were some times when Trudeau was candid. Things are not perfect in Canada, and things are not, at the moment, stable in the sense of there are a lot of people who are quite disturbed, who are maybe even angry. And Trudeau acknowledged that. So give him credit for not using the rose-colored glasses and painting the usual picture, although he did have a jab at Colbert over the issue of universal health care. Of course, that is the policy that even Bernie Sanders has been in the news when an MSNBC host, someone who I follow on occasion, I think his name is Ali Velshi. Ali Velshi, Canadian, now with MSNBC, had this to say with Bernie Sanders.
The day whose father had heart surgery in Canada. I don't know how long he was in the hospital, but heart surgery is no small thing. He got out and he said, Bernie, the only expense my father paid was the fee at the parking lot.
My dad in Toronto, 89-year-old father, had like a heart valve replacement surgery and wanted me to make sure you knew that the only thing he paid for in our single-payer universal health care system was parking.
Okay, well, there you go. Healthcare, so important, and yet, like in the United States, it is under siege by people who don't believe that universal health care is a thing that we need to preserve. And I look at all the conservative provinces that are trying to privatize healthcare, who are starting up, who have wealthy friends who are starting up long-term private healthcare facilities, long-term clinics, or not LTCs, clinics. Cost you a membership fee to join. How much? It depends on the clinic, depends on the doctors. But privatizing access to healthcare is an abomination in Canada. Gone seems to be the days of Tommy Douglas, who fought so hard for so long with the CCF and then NDP to try to get universal health care. And we are on the verge of losing it in Canada because conservatives tend to want to privatize everything. And I know there are conservatives who listen and say, well, yeah, we believe in small government. Yeah, well, some of these things require a larger government than you're willing to accept. And we believe in taxing, reduce the taxes on corporations. Okay, well then who's going to pay for these universal programs? They cost money. So taxation and policy go hand in hand. You have either rich people willing to pay or not willing to pay. And if they're not willing to pay, chances are their money finds way into the pocketbooks of conservatives who will make policies that they agree with. That's the way it is. Influence peddling through money. If you believe in social policies that advance progress, that help people, that help most Canadians, that help children learn, that help children get health care, that help seniors have access to health care, if you believe in that, put your money where your mouth is. Pay your taxes. Stop complaining about it and say this is the cost of doing business. And if you don't like it, there are other countries to go to. There are other ways of getting change done. But don't take bribes and don't take money from oil and gas. Don't take money from rich patrons because you want to campaign against all these things. What is good for Canada is what is good for Canadians. And what is good for Canadians is access to health care, is a whole bunch of things that we would call progressive policies that treat people with dignity and respect, that are represented by the policies that Trudeau outlined on Stephen Colbert's show, that Ali Velshi shared with Bernie Sanders in the United States, on what it means to be Canadian in a universal healthcare society. Don't dismantle what isn't broken. Spend the money that you've been given. That's my message to the provincial Conservative premiers. Don't break what isn't broken. Don't rail and rant against things that work for Canadians. And again, these things seems to be a cooperation agreement between centrists and left of centrists, between NDP and Green and Liberals, and sometimes even the Bloc will go with the Liberals. And I would say this is good government. This is the way we work things out. We negotiate. We talk about interests that we share in common. And we talk about being able to help somebody in some province, and in return, we will help somebody in another province with something else. This is negotiation. This is how we do government in Canada. And this is what Justin Trudeau was saying to Stephen Colbert back when he entered like a rock star? I don't know. Like a celebrity? Well, maybe. Certainly Trudeau, after 9 years in office, is a senior statesman on the international scene. He's been in international politics representing Canada's interest longer than just about any other politician in a democracy. And I specify that because Putin's been around a long time. Xi Jinping's been around a long time. Kim Jong-un has been a long time. Dictators tend to be around longer until they're killed off or somehow escape and flee their country. But Canada is on the world stage, and Justin Trudeau represents Canada well in that context. At home, I suspect, as I pointed out in a previous podcast, that there's a lot of influence peddling, foreign influence peddling in Canadian politics. And I would say that a lot of the social media and even some mainstream media has fallen prey to misrepresentation and inaccuracies driven by foreign agendas, whether that is Russia, whether that's China, whether that's India. Those are the three big players, whether it's Iran, maybe it is even, dare I say it, Hamas, Hezbollah, organizations that are terrorists by nature, finding political voices in Canadian universities, articulating positions that most Canadians, I'm pretty sure, would find repulsive. And yet, they were there waving Palestinian flags on October 7th, and yet there were campuses shut down. I'm wondering to what extent foreign influence can be proven, and that's what I'm looking for coming up. The Jim and Terry Show, signing off. All things political, all things cultural, social, economic, sometimes even religious. Bye-bye for now.